The MBTI doesn't work for everything. And that's actually a good thing. Let's see why. Hi, I'm Ayla with True You Systems, and today we're going to be looking at the Myers-Briggs, the MBTI, what it works for, what it doesn't work for, and what else to use with it to have it work better. So I hear things like this all the time, that the MBTI can explain like everything about a person. And I think some of this comes from learning about the MBTI and realizing that it's this really amazing system that kind of blows your mind and explains all of these kinds of things. And then trying to apply it to every aspect of what a person is like to explain why with this one system. But the thing is, you really don't want one system that claims to answer everything about a person. Like if a medication says that it can do anything and everything and it will cure all your ailments with this one weird trick, you're gonna be like, that sounds like snake oil. That's probably not real. But like if the medication says this is what it works on and this is what to use it for, like a headache, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Similarly, the MBTI looks at cognitive preferences, and it's only looking at that and only claims to look at that actually. It's a specific tool that looks at specific things and gets specific results. And it's always best to use the right tool for the job, but that means knowing what tool to use for which thing. So if you want to know the cognitive preferences of someone, that's the way our brains take in information and understand the world and make decisions, then the MBTI is great. But it still isn't going to tell you what drives that person or what they fear. So some people might be thinking that's just looking at the basics of MBTI. If you look at the cognitive functions, then it explains everything about a person. No. The cognitive functions explain more deeply what the MBTI is looking at, but it doesn't explain what the MBTI doesn't look at. So for example, saying someone is a doctor gives you some information on them, and then saying that they're a podiatrist gives you more information and more deeply, and maybe you might add that they're a pediatric podiatrist. So we've gotten more specific about what type of doctor they are, but it doesn't tell us what they want on their pizza, what gets them up in the morning, what they like to do on the weekends, why they became a doctor, and what motivates them. So using cognitive functions is like zooming in with the same lens from the same angle. It's going to give you more in-depth information on the same questions. So let's look at those cognitive functions and what they leave out. Let's, for example, look at INTJs. INTJs use introverted intuition, NI, and extroverted thinking, TE. These are their two main cognitive functions. So what does that all mean? N is about big picture thinking and about connecting ideas from all different domains. And in this case, for INTJs, it means it's happening introverted and internally. So NI is like having an intellectual supercomputer that's always running in the background and connecting dots that other people can't see. T is all about using reason and logic to make decisions, as opposed to feelings. And in this case, the T function is extroverted, TE, and so it's front and center in their interactions with other people. So an INTJ is logical and able to wrap their head around big picture ideas. And they're able to use this to solve problems that are complex in deliberate and methodical ways. But which problems is an INTJ going to care about? Here's where the MBTI falls short. What does an INTJ see as a problem? What are they going to choose to spend their time on? Is the problem that people keep making these infuriating grammatical errors in their writing that could be easily fixed with an ounce of diligence? Or is the problem having pesky tasks that consume your time and energy and aren't even interesting, like work? Both of these are classic INTJ things to fixate on. But these are also clearly two different ways for INTJs to present, two different personalities, two different people. So who are these two different people? For that, we need to use another tool. We would need a system for understanding people based on what motivates them, what they fixate on. Something like the Enneagram. If you want to know more about something more broadly, you're going to need to ask more questions from different angles. So in a way, we're like characters, and these systems help to flesh us out. Think about Batman. He has a cape, he has a pointy mask, he has a grappling hook, and he's good at fighting, and he has an awesome car. But what's his backstory? Why does he fight crime? What does he fear and hope for? What are his hang-ups, fixations, obsessions, passions? Why is he always so moody? This is actually like the MBTI and the Enneagram. The MBTI tells us what superpowers we have, and the Enneagram tells us what drives us and what we use those superpowers for. By the way, if you've been loving this video, press that like button. And if you're wanting to find your Enneagram type or understand the Enneagram more deeply, check out my Enneagram self-typing cards. I'll put the link in the comments below. So let's stick with INTJ for this example. They're often called the mastermind, and in this case, we're going to be calling them the evil mastermind. So you might have an INTJ that uses their predictive ability and big picture thinking, along with their rational and methodical problem solving, to cleanse the universe of evil by destroying it. This would be an example of an Enneagram Type 1 INTJ. Or you might be an INTJ that uses those same predictive abilities and big picture thinking and rational methodical problem solving to create an experimental super soldier race devoid of feeling through advanced research, never mind the cost to humanity. This would be an example of an Enneagram Type 5 INTJ. Or you might be an INTJ that uses these same talents to ensure the security of a vulnerable minority by destroying humanity and the threat they represent. This would be an example of an Enneagram Type 6 INTJ. These characters are all the same MBTI type, but they have different Enneagram types, and therefore different motivations. I'm picking on INTJs here, but this is actually true for all of the MBTI types. So for example, you could have ISTPs that are 9s or 6s, or you could have ENFJs who are 2s or 3s or 1s. And in case you were wondering, as apparently someone on Reddit was, not all INTJs are evil. There's plenty of examples of non-evil INTJs with different Enneagram types, which also illustrates that good and evil are not determined by the MBTI or the Enneagram. You'd need something entirely different for that. So layering the MBTI and the Enneagram can be really beneficial when trying to understand someone or understand yourself. Humans are complicated, and understanding them is a big job that requires multiple tools. So these two systems are not competing, they're working together. And also, the Enneagram doesn't work for everything either. Shock! I'm crazy about the Enneagram, and I can even say that. It's simply another tool that you can use for trying to understand people. The Enneagram doesn't tell us some things that the MBTI does, like whether or not you use big picture thinking to understand the world or tend to focus on the details first, or whether you like to have a predetermined plan or would rather improvise something. And each MBTI type, when layered with the Enneagram, can create an entirely different way that Enneagram type expresses externally. There's also other systems that can be layered besides for the MBTI and the Enneagram, but that's for another video. So if we really want to understand people, we're going to need all the tools we can get our hands on. So what are some of the tools that you find helpful? Let me know in the comments below. I can't wait to hear from you. I've been having such incredible conversations with all of you and learning so much. So thank you so much for sharing and for watching, and can't wait to see you again soon. Bye!